Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling a topic that, well, it touches everyone at some point, yet often feels incredibly daunting. Writing a meaningful eulogy. Such a profound act of love, of remembrance, but it definitely comes at a time of grief.
It really does. And it's fascinating how universal this challenge is, isn't it? Our source for this deep dive, an article by David Cortez called How to Write a Meaningful Eulogy, a step-by-step guide. It offers this remarkably uh, compassionate and practical roadmap. Really helps unpack how to honor a life, preserve memories, and share what made someone unforgettable.
Right. So our mission here for this deep dive is to pull out those essential insights from the guide. We want to make crafting that heartfelt tribute feel, less like this overwhelming burden and more like a real opportunity for connection, maybe even healing. We'll walk you through the key stages from reflection right through to delivery using the guide's wisdom.
And maybe add a few thoughts ourselves along the way.
Okay, so let's unpack that first stage, reflection. The guide starts there, which makes sense. But when your heart is heavy, what does reflection really involve? Is there a common trap people fall into?
That's a great point, because reflection isn't just, vaguely thinking about the person. Step one in the guide talks about taking quiet time, sure, but the really crucial tip is this. Think in stories, not just traits.
Stories, not traits.
Okay, exactly. People often default to just listing adjectives, right?
Hmm.
She was kind or he was brave. But a eulogy comes alive when you show it, not just state it. Focusing on stories means you're reliving a specific moment that demonstrates that kindness or that bravery.
Okay, so it makes it much more vivid.
Precisely. It helps you capture their true passions, their quirks, their values, the things people will genuinely miss and remember.
That reframing really does make a difference. Stories definitely hit harder than adjectives, but when you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe foggy with grief, how do you actually dig up those rich, specific stories?
Yeah, that's a very real challenge. And it leads straight into step two from the guide, collecting memories from others.
Reaching out.
Yes.
Yes.
The guide suggests talking to family, friends. And this isn't just about getting more material, though that helps. It's also a really powerful act of shared remembrance. It can be incredibly therapeutic in itself.
I can see that. Sharing the load, almost.
Absolutely. And sometimes just a sentence or two from someone else can spark a beautiful memory you'd forgotten. The guide also mentions looking through things like old photos, voicemails, even shared texts, practical stuff.
Right, those little fragments of life.
Exactly. And imagine the power of just asking a simple, open question when you reach out. Something like, what's one moment with them that still makes you laugh?
Oh, that's good.
Or maybe, what small thing do you remember that really felt like them?
Hmm.
It sort of becomes a way of co-creating the eulogy, and it can bring out sides of the person you hadn't even thought about.
Okay, so we've reflected, we've gathered these stories, these moments. Now, the next hurdle, shaping it all into a message. The guide brings up choosing the right tone. That feels critical. Why is tone so important, and how do you figure that out when emotions are all over the place?
Tone is absolutely vital. Step three in the guide really tackles this, acknowledging there's no single right way. Should it be serious, reverent, light, even humorous? Or maybe a mix?
Yeah, how do you decide?
The key insight is that the tone needs to feel authentic.
Mm-hmm.
It has to reflect the person you're remembering, and importantly, consider the setting and the audience. A eulogy can be deeply moving, and yes, sometimes even funny, as long as it's grounded in genuine love and respect.
So it doesn't have to be all somber.
Not necessarily. Think about the psychological impact. A tone that feels right can actually help people process their grief in a way that feels true to the person they lost. That might mean quiet reflection, or it might mean sharing a moment of, cathartic laughter together. The guide gives a really useful prompt. What would they have wanted the tone to be? That helps ground it in authenticity.
That's a great question to ask. Okay, and then the actual writing part. For someone who doesn't see themselves as a writer, this can feel like a huge pressure. Does it need to be perfect prose? What's the real aim?
No, not at all. And that's what step four is all about. It's this powerful reassurance. You don't need to write a masterpiece. You just need to write something honest, something true.
Okay, honest and true.
Yeah. And what's really empowering about the guide here is that it gives you a simple structure. It's not just how to write. It's almost like giving you permission to be vulnerable, to be authentic.
Like a safety net.
Exactly. A psychological scaffold. It takes away that scary blank page feeling so you can focus on the message, not the perfect wording.
So what's the structure it suggests?
It's very straightforward. An opening. Just say who you are, your connection to the person, clear and simple. Then the body. This is where you weave in those key memories, those stories, the personality traits, talk about what they meant to you and to others. And finally, a closing. A simple goodbye. Maybe a favorite quote they loved, or just a heartfelt message of love.
Simple, clear.
It's about clarity and heart,
Yeah.
not about winning a writing prize.
That structure sounds incredibly helpful. It really shifts the focus from, performance to just genuine sharing. So, okay, we have the framework. How do we actually get the words down? And then the delivery, that feels like the most nerve-wracking bit for many people.
Well, step 5 talks about writing with heart.
Mm.
The advice is pretty simple. Write like you're talking to a friend. Keep sentences relatively simple, natural sounding.
It's a conversation.
Exactly. And crucially, the guide suggests reading it out loud as you write and revise. That helps you catch awkward phrasing and check the flow.
Reading it aloud. Good tip.
Even seasoned writers do it.
Yeah.
And there's this really poignant mental exercise it offers. Imagine the person sitting in the room with you.
Oh.
What would you want them to hear? That kind of transforms the writing into this private, internal dialogue. It helps you really focus on what matters most, what feels truly genuine.
That's a really powerful image. Comforting, in a way. Okay, and then delivering it. Public speaking is tough for lots of people anyway, but add grief into the mix. What are the practical tips for just getting through it?
Yeah, delivering it under that kind of duress is unique.
Yeah.
Step 6, practice reading aloud, is essential here. The guide suggests practicing several times. Not necessarily to memorize it word for word, but to get comfortable with the pacing, where you might naturally pause. Builds confidence.
Right, familiarity helps.
Definitely. And then there's these practical bonus tips that seem small but are so important. Bring a printed copy. Don't rely just on your phone. Tech can fail at the worst moments.
Good point.
And have a glass of water handy. Your throat can get dry when you're nervous or emotional. But maybe the most important advice is the permission it gives you.
Permission.
Yeah. Permission to pause, to take a breath if you need it, or even if the emotions just become too overwhelming, it's okay to ask someone else, maybe have someone ready beforehand to step in and finish reading for you.
Really? That's okay?
Absolutely. It's not a performance. It's a tribute given in love. And sometimes that love is overwhelming.
That takes some pressure off. But what if you do get emotional? Your voice breaks, you start crying. I think that's a big fear for people. Does the guide address that?
It does, yes. And it's handled with such empathy. It tells you straight up, it's okay. In fact, it's expected.
That's really reassuring.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Because society often puts this pressure on us to be strong, to hold it together, especially in public grief. The guide pushes back against that. It says, no one will judge you for feeling. If your voice cracks, if you need a moment, that's okay. The really powerful takeaway is this line. Your emotion is part of the tribute. It's a sign of love. It reframes that vulnerability. It's not weakness. It's actually a profound expression of how much that person meant to you.
Your emotion is part of the tribute. I like that. This whole deep dive has given such a kind, practical roadmap for something so personal, so tough. Stepping back a bit, what's the ultimate message you think listeners should take away about writing a eulogy beyond just the steps?
Well, connecting it all, I think the article's final thoughts really capture it beautifully. It says, your words don't have to be perfect. They just need to be true.
Perfect doesn't matter. Truth does.
Exactly. A eulogy isn't just words on paper. The guide presents it as a gift. A gift not just to the person being remembered, obviously, but also to everyone listening.
A gift to everyone there.
It's this profound act of collective remembering. It's a way for the community to say together, your life mattered. You made a difference. You won't be forgotten. Its real power is in bringing comfort, in helping people share that grief and start healing together through those shared stories.
That makes sense. And the guide also mentioned some broader resources for support beyond just writing the eulogy itself.
It did, yes. It points towards preserving memories more broadly, mentioning something called a life portrait for photos and stories. And it lists other practical resources for eulogy guidance, places like FuneralWise, Dignity Memorial, Legacy.com.
Okay.
And also, importantly, resources for managing grief itself, like the Mayo Clinic, which actually raises a really interesting question for all of us, doesn't it?
What's that?
Beyond the eulogy, that one moment at a time,
Yeah.
how can we keep honoring and remembering the people we've lost, in ongoing intentional ways? How do we keep weaving their stories into our lives, maybe by continuing to collect and share those very kinds of stories the guide encourages us to find for the eulogy itself?
That's a really thoughtful point, keeping the memory alive through stories long after the service. Well, that was an incredibly meaningful deep dive. Thank you. Whether you, listening, are facing the task of writing a eulogy right now, or perhaps just reflecting on how to honor someone important in your life, we really hope this guide gives you both practical steps and, maybe more importantly, that comfort. The comfort of knowing that your heartfelt words, however simple or imperfect they might feel, are truly enough.
Absolutely. This deep dive really underscores that the power isn't in perfect writing. It's in that honest, shared remembrance. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener. How might intentionally gathering and sharing stories like the guide suggest not just help when someone is grieving? How might it deepen your own appreciation for the people around you right now, before they're gone? Thinking about the laughter, the quirks, the small kindnesses, what stories are you noticing, maybe even collecting today?